We are live. Ladies and gentlemen on the interwebs, my name is James Murua, and this is the James Murua Literary live stream. Very exciting because the name and the live stream are the same. And today, what we're planning to do is chat about the World Book Capital. As you may or may not be aware, the World Book Capital will be in Accra this year, starting in April 23rd. And I brought in a few people who've already had the World Book Capital experience. And I want them to tell us, what is the experience of a World Book Capital? What does it do to a city? What does it do to the organization that does it? I'll just go quickly through the people you are seeing on your screen. Koko Kalango. Koko Kalango is the founder of the Rainbow Book Club, which is part of the Rainbow Foundation. She's also a writer of, Colors of Life, and she writes the Color of Life column in the This Day, and you host the Colors of Life show. Is this correct, Koko?
I do, James. Thank you. All correct.
Yes. She's also the director of the Port Harcourt Book Festival, which we hear quietly may be coming in a big way, back in a big way in 2023. Okay. And then we have now Koko Kalango was part of the Port Harcourt World Book Capital in 2014. Then we have Anna Routsi. You're currently in Milan, but she was part of the World Book Capital for Athens. She studied law, holds a master's in culture and media management, and she was responsible for publicity in the 2018 Athens Book Fest, Athens Book Capital. She's currently an investigator at the ombudsman of the Greek ombudsman, where children's rights is concerned. Thank you for joining us, Anna.
Thank you, James, for having us.
Okay, so from 2020 from 2018 and we go to 2020. We have Sheikh Faisal Sheikh Mansor, or Sheikh, who's the honorary secretary of the Malaysian Book Publishers Association. He was involved in the Kuala Lumpur World Book Capital 2020. They did their event in the middle of COVID. We want to hear about their experiences. Welcome, Sheikh.
Thank you for having me here.
We have Ninia Matcharashvili.
Sure.
She's in.
Sure.
I hope I got it okay. She's in Tbilisi, Georgia, and Tbilisi were the hosts of the World Book Capital in 2021. She was really basically she's also the director of the Union of Tbilisi Libraries. Welcome, Ninia.
Thank you very much.
And last but not least is Rodrigo Medina Niembro. He's in Guadalajara, Mexico, and Guadalajara are the current World Book Capital hosts. Welcome, Rodrigo, and welcome to the audience whenever they do come on board. This event is done in partnership with the Frankfurter Buchmesse, with support from the German federal government. And I want to say thank you. I'll start with you, Koko, because you're the one who was the last is the most behind in the scene. Tell us about your World Book Capital in Port Harcourt. How was first of all? Let's start with it. What is the World Book Capital, and what does it do to Port Harcourt?
Thank you so much, James. So the World Book Capital is an initiative of UNESCO that was started in 2001 to encourage books and reading for development of society. And the nomination is given to a city per year after a competitive process that started in 2004, I believe. So it's thrown open to cities around the world, and you put in a bid, and a selection committee made up of 4 bodies, including UNESCO, the body of international publishers, library, and one other body, library publishers, UNESCO, and one other. Someone will help me with that. And the nominated authors. Excellent. The nominated World
No.
Book Capital holds the title from one World Book Copyright Day, that's the 23rd of April in the year where they hold the title, to the following year, so a whole year. And in that year, you're expected to run various programs that encourage reading and books in general. So that's the background.
Now, what about how was because we know I cover the African literature space and I followed Port Harcourt a lot. You hosted the Africa 39, and it was a huge splash in the African literature scene. Tell us about the role of the World Book Capital. What did it do for Port Harcourt? When you hosted that event.
Excellent. Now, first, just to let us know a little bit about Port Harcourt. So, Port Harcourt is Nigeria's oil city. Port Harcourt is the golden goose that lays the eggs that sustains Nigeria's economy. So it's a very important city. Now, when Rainbow started our work in about 2005, our city was in the news for militancy because the youth were protesting years of underdevelopment of the region that sustains Nigeria's economy. And we stepped in with our work. Wole Soyinka called it book militancy. And we kept at it. We kicked off the Get Nigeria Reading Again campaign from Port Harcourt and built on a rich history of literary heritage that I enjoyed growing up as a child. So we kept building on. And then luckily a government came in that was so impressed and literature friendly. And that's how we started the book festival in 2008. And on, gradually, Port Harcourt began to emerge as not just an oil city, but a book city as well. So yes, we put in the bid and we got the nomination, and it was an exciting year. Now, around the time we came on board as World Book Capital as well, now in Nigeria, there was a threat to the education system, which you probably know about. It escalated where we had retrogressive groups attacking schools, kidnapping children. We know we probably know the Bring Back the Girls campaign, where over 200 girls were kidnapped from a school in April 2014, incidentally, just a few weeks before we kicked off at World Book Capital. And I may say that one of the maybe I would say the gains from the World Book Capital, it may be little, but on that platform, Wole Soyinka highlighted the situation with the girls, and someone tweeted from there, and it went on and snowballed into a movement that got Malala, Michelle Obama, popular figures around the world tweeting Bring Back the Girls. That created an awareness. So what we were doing, I would say, has contributed to bringing books and education to the forefront of national discourse in Nigeria. In that year, we did so. We worked with partners, not just in the book chain industry. We engaged the popular culture, actors from Nigeria's Nollywood who are influential, musicians to come on board and work with us to make reading funky, to make it attractive, to young people, because we wanted the youth to drop their guns and pick up books. We wanted the young children to aspire to be like writers like Chimamanda and Chinua Achebe and all that. So we ran 200 book clubs. We set up libraries. We got the press in the city, the radio, television, all talking about books. And of course, just like you mentioned, Africa 39, because we saw ourselves as not just representing Port Harcourt and Nigeria, but Africa as well. So that was an important project, which, as you know, was a celebration, a selection and celebration of 39 of the most important African writers under the age of 40. And that culminated in a publication in collaboration with Bloomsbury Publishers called Africa 39 as well. Now, what has that done? A lot of things. From the work we did, we've had other book festivals spring up, like people, writers that used to attend, we used to bring over to our festival, like Lola, who was one of the Lola Shulei, one of the African 39 writers, and has been a guest on several occasions in Port Harcourt, has now set up the Arcade Festival, which we are so proud and excited about. We've also had writers groomed from that stage in Port Harcourt doing great things in different parts of the world. I think I will stop here for now.
Wow, that's a huge impact for you guys. What about you, Anna? I mean, what was the impact of the Wild Ball Capital for you in Athens?
Well, in Athens, we have, as you know, a tradition of culture and writing and books and everything. But we need to have to do it and to bring it in the present. Our main goal was for many people to have access to books and reading, for the book to go to reach every neighborhood of Athens. And also the unprivileged ones, not only the city center with a lot of bookstores, etc. For disadvantaged people, for vulnerable groups of people to come to contact with books and reading, and for the book to get mixed with other arts, to be more fun, as Koko has mentioned before. So these were the main goals. We tried to do more with less, okay, because the budget was not so big. The municipality was the organization that took over the World Book Capital, right? And that means that with this limited budget, we had about 600, more than 600 events within the year. I mean, we did have a basic programs with the sections, but it was enriched. It was a program made in progress, because within the context, everyone was getting more familiar with this and wanted to be a part of this, even if in the beginning they were not part of that. So that was good, because we gave them the chance to get in, right, and take off. I can give you some examples. Like we started at the beginning with very well-known writers. So as a teaser, like we had Herta Müller before we even started in March, before April. We had Ian McEwan as an opening in the opening week. And that brought a lot of publicity, which we needed for the beginning. And then we had lots of other events, like like out of the box. Like we had a picnic with books and music. We had a reading club for people that cannot read, for people with problems, with sight problems, and we helped them record books. We helped the organization to record books for them. We had readings in the metro, we had readings in the buses or the metro stations, or within the metro themselves. We had treasure hunting, and we had some, like, the literary walks, the literature walks that were thematic walks in the city, where the writers were inspired and they were guiding people to the places where the books came from, or that they write about. And this created or another initiative, like the Open Archives, where the organizations, big organizations like libraries or archives, or smaller organizations that were maybe not so well known, they were opening their archives for the people to visit and get familiar with the hidden treasures. So this created a kind of legacy for the future, for the years that came. And so the municipality, the city of Athens, still organizes these literature walks, or other people also, other organizations, institutions also took this initiative and they incorporated it in their programs. And because we didn't have the budget to do something with our libraries, I mean, for the buildings or something like that. We did it in another way. We engaged. We had a mobile library that was every day they were running to another neighborhood, and we engaged a lot of other institutions that run mobile libraries as well. For people, for Roma people, for people, for refugees from Syria at the time that were children. They didn't attend school yet. They were not included yet in school, and they were free, in places, in squares, and they approached them. We had lots of initiatives like that, and these are still going, not only from the City Hall, but also from other organizations. So that this is, I think, the main legacy that it inspired people to do more with books and combine books with other arts as well. So I think this helped the city. A lot of this, yes, many of these initiatives, as I told you, continue to run either from the City Hall or from other organizations, public or private.
Thank you so much, Anna. Sheikh, you're the one who's the most unlucky of the team here because your World Book Capital was in the middle. I mean, April 23rd, 2020 was the middle of COVID, all the way to the April 23rd, 2021. Would you mind telling us a bit about your experience?
All right. I just want to share a little bit about the year 2020, why it was so significant for Kuala Lumpur to win World Book Capital in 2020. The 30 years before that, the Prime Minister back then created this Vision 2020. It's a 30-year development program for the nation. So to become a developed nation, so to speak. So 2020 is supposed to be a coming of age of for Kuala Lumpur and for Malaysia. So everybody was excited for that. When we were awarded, when we got the news in 2018, everybody was excited, especially those involved in the planning. When we did the planning, we got all the government agencies related to books to come together, as well as some of the NGOs, non-governmental organizations, to come and sit down together and plan what we will do, in the celebration of the World Book Capital in 2020. So everybody got excited, and they allocated budget to do activities, to create activities from 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. So, we did some of the activities in 2018 and 2019. It is recorded in our report because everybody is excited to do that. And when it comes to 2020, things happen. In 2020, it was special because what we did in our planning was that we would just consolidate whatever activities that we were already doing by all these government agencies, because these agencies are very active in doing book-related activities, reading campaigns, and all that. So in our planning, what we did was that we just consolidate everything and put it on paper. And for the 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, but for 2020 and 21, we wanted to do something extra. So we made a call for applications from NGOs, from the government agencies, what kind of projects that you want to do. So they came in with all these proposals and things like that, and we have approved many of them before COVID started. So some of them would have gotten some funding to do their activities, and we were all excited to plan for the opening ceremony that was supposed to be held on the 23rd of April, and in March we had to cancel. We had to. In fact, we couldn't even have meetings. At that time, Zoom was not so great. Nobody knew Zoom that well. So we managed to squeeze one time where we got together to sit in a meeting, of course, with many difficulties to get everyone to be in the same room, and we decided that okay, it's too late for us to plan for anything. Opening ceremony has to be cancelled. What could we do? So I had to contact Ian Dennison, who's in charge of World Book Capital at UNESCO. What are our options? It is the first time that has happened this way. So what are our options, and what could we do? So at that time, also Sharjah was on the verge of doing their closing ceremony. So they had canceled their plans to have a physical one. So they did a video. So okay, since Sharjah is doing that, okay, maybe we could do a video. It's nothing fancy. It's pretty devastating, really, because we have planned a grandiose ceremony to, Sharjah did so grand, and we were there in Sharjah during opening ceremony, and I talked to the city council people, and they were happy to do something at that magnitude. So because in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, we are so we love celebrations. So this is a thing for a World Book Capital city. The opening ceremony, it's something to be celebrated. And as I said, 2020 is a special year. We want to celebrate. Everybody wants to celebrate. So yeah, in the end, what we did was that we had got the mayor to give a speech, and we did a simple video, and that's it. But on that day, we scheduled one program, which is something that we have always done, that we always do for many years, which is on every 23rd of April at 11 a.m. Yeah, the whole nation get together, pick up a book, and read for 10 minutes. This is something that we do every single year on 23rd April, in celebration of the World Book and Copyright Day. Yeah,
Wow.
without fail.
So that's one of your legacies.
That was no, that was done even before we were in World Book Capital. Yeah, it was many years before. So because this is an iconic event. Yeah, we get every Malaysian at school, at offices, government offices, everyone stop at 11 a.m. at their offices, pick up a book and read for 10 minutes. Even for ourselves, we were in Sharjah at that time, when we were at Sharjah opening ceremony. On that day, on the 23rd, 11 a.m., those of us, the five of us from Kuala Lumpur in Sharjah, we also pick up a book and read. It's for Malaysians everywhere in the world. At 11 a.m., your local time, 10 minutes. You read and you share on social media. So that is something that we, yeah, that is something that is a legacy that we actually wanted to highlight. Yeah, on the opening ceremony that we had. So it is going on until now. Online, virtual or physical, it's still going on. On that day, we did it virtually for the first time, and this year we would have it somewhat later because it clashes with the Eid al-Fitri, the Eid celebration. So we couldn't get reading on that day. So I think they scheduled it in May this year. So when COVID comes, yeah, of course, everyone has to sit down. We had to return the proposals that were approved, and we already approved. So we had to ask them to suggest to us any other programs that can be done virtually, because there was we could do anything physically in person. But over the course of time, we managed to squeeze in some events, some physical events, of course, with social distancing and all that. Yeah, but fortunately, though, despite all this, in the 3 years, 18, 19, 20, I mean, probably 19, 20, and 21, we had more than 650 events that was held, and mostly virtually. Yeah.
So even before, so the fact that you didn't really do your big year physically in Kuala Lumpur, you say you already have 650 events. So it's not like
Yeah.
you completely lost your Wild Book Capital.
Well, it's not as it's not as fun. Because we had many things planned, and it's like a fair, a feast, it's like a fiesta throughout the year. And but we managed to do it online. But the thing is, when we did online, we managed to see that some of the events, they had a really wide reach. Like some of these talks and some things that we do, they can reach up to 5,000 viewers. That is an achievement. Something that you cannot do for physical events. So this is something new, and some of the activities that we do online still goes on until now.
Thank you, Ninia. Your Tbilisi was next after that, and at
Yes.
least you didn't get the whole COVID, the brunt of COVID. You got a bit of it. Tell us a bit about that.
So thanks once again for the platform and for the interest to promote World Book Capital. And yes, the first part of the project in Tbilisi was full of COVID, and we had the second wave, something like that, which was much more severe than the first one. Actually, the project we were preparing for our World Book Capital year was a little bit different because we wanted to promote. To make a very big events full of people and to invite lots of guests, and we wanted to promote Georgian literature abroad. And the main one of the main activities was this kind of activities that provided the modern writers and publishers much more support to go much more wider and broader to the different countries. I should mention here the Frankfurt Book Festival 2080, where Georgia was the guest of honor country. And I would say that after this platform, we were supported to get the status of UNESCO World Book Capital because of the good recommendations. So we wanted to promote ourselves much more broadly, but unfortunately, because of the COVID, we were not given opportunity to follow all of our plans. But still, in the framework of World Book Capital, we did lots of stuff, and we had the opportunity to support for the publishers actually and writers who were damaged a lot because of the COVID. The bookstores and everything was absolutely closed down, and nobody let people and readers go in. That's why a lots of bookstores during the pandemic was shut down in Georgia, as well as libraries. And this project, actually, World Book Capital, was some kind of way out for us to support the book sector. We supported to publish a lots of book. We implemented the international and local residency projects for the authors, and I'm very happy to take Georgia, to take my country to the Guadalajara International Book Fair. It was the very first time, and in the framework of Tbilisi World Book Capital, Georgian delegation and Georgian book stand was represented there. We prepared and opened the Museum of Repressed Georgian Authors in Post-Soviet Times. Whoever knows the Georgian literature knows the negative influence of Soviet era on Georgia's history. So it was our dream to open the museum. So we have managed. We renovated libraries, all public school libraries, and it was also a good support for the kids to have the new titles and book availability to be increased. Absolutely. We organized open air libraries during the summer. Lots of people were coming and reading, and we also opened a special website where the audiobooks, Georgian audiobooks, were prepared for the people with disabilities, and it was also very a useful project for the different target audiences, because during all these very difficult times we were trying to create unique projects for all the readers, for to cover all the ages, all the interest, and everything. Yeah, I would say that this year was one of the brightest. In the history of Georgian literature in the right now nowadays, because we did really, we did our best, and we supported people to get back to the books, and lots of schools supported us to join at the public events, and it was full of students, full of kids, and they were reading in the open spaces. And at last, I would say we prepared a video I can share with you later, where all these activities is grabbed together. And at the end of the project, when we were approaching to the end, the war by the Russia in Ukraine started, and these countries are in our region, and this war like situation was also affected to Georgia actually, and we were a little bit once again after COVID like surrounded with the bad news. So this also impacted to the closing ceremony of the World Book Capital project. We have hosted the second network meeting in Tbilisi in April last year in the framework of this project, and we also wanted to make this project bigger, but lots of guests were not allow did not allow us to come here because of the like the war situation in our region. So in the starting pandemic, and in the end the war was one of the not one of the two of the main challenges for our project, but truly and actually we are absolutely happy that we have done it. And we supported publishers, writers, booksellers. We have established the first kids international book fair in Tbilisi, and I am in the framework of World Book Capital, and I am very happy that we are continuing it right now. Like last year, for the second time, we repeated it. So it was so cool and so popular among the audience that we, in the framework of union libraries, right now I'm just going on to implement it. We have established the first illustration fair in Tbilisi in the framework of World Book Capital. It was also full of people, and right now we are just searching for the new sources, financial supports to continue this illustration fair. So lots of good initiatives and positive initiatives started with this project. And right now, about 2 days ago, like in a week ago, the call for the new applications by the UNESCO is open and announced for the city, for the interested city, for 2025. And I would recommend all the cities to take part to the process to create uh, application. It's not sure very difficult. It's really unique project that promotes literature, readers, current literature situations in one city, and it's a really powerful tool to unite with the other supporters or in all over the world. For example, our network, UNESCO World Book Capital Network, who is consisted which is consisted of 23 cities already. Personally, for me, is something very strong platform where I have a lots of my colleagues, friends from all over the world with whom we can deliver, we can we can develop new literature ideas and new, very interesting and important projects. So all this really rocks. It's very important project and very useful for today's like book processes.
Thank you, Ninia. I think Rodrigo, it's your turn, as you probably figured out. You're the current World Book capital city, and you'll be handing over to Accra in a few weeks. Would you like to tell us about the Guadalajara experience of World Book capital?
Yeah, sure. So look, Guadalajara, as many of you may know, we are the second largest city in Mexico. We are home of the some of the biggest and most important symbols of Mexico in the world. I mean, mariachi music, tequila, and many other things that distinguish us in the world. And also, we have a very straight relationship with books and literature. We host the one of the most important book fairs in the world, the FIL Guadalajara. It is held since 1987. Guadalajara is also home bird of many writers from the early 20th century and contemporary writers. So the city hall, the Guadalajara City Hall, made the decision to host the World Book Capital title for 2022. We started this process in 2020, and like it was like, if I don't remember, like July 2020. And the project we submitted to UNESCO was a project based on the books as our allies to fight violence. As you as you know, Mexico is not having right now one of the best moments regarding to violence related to drugs and organized crime. So we thought this strength from our relationship with the books will be a great platform to hold this title. So we started this process in, as I told you, in mid 2020, and we have the honor of we received the news that we were elected by November 2020, and we had a double good news because UNESCO told us our project was approved unanimously. So it was, we were very happy, but at the same time kind of worried because this support, unanimous support from the committee of UNESCO, made us a big responsibility for the city. So we started working on this project. We try to basically make events regarding to books outside traditional venues. We went to all over the city, to squares, parks, to make activities over there. Regarding to this project for preventing violence, we divided the territory of the city in 14 zones, and we diagnosed each one of these zones divided by for the city, and identified specific problems regarding to violence, and we implemented the programs specified to solve those problems in those cities of the zones of the city. We also have a very important program to bring important writers, not only in Spanish. We have recently the visit of Alessandro Barico, this great Italian writer who came to have a conversation with the readers. We want to establish like a bridge between readers and writers. We also had the visit of a Spanish writer called Victor del Árbol, and he has a very interesting story. 25 years ago, before becoming a writer, he was a police officer in Spain, and we brought him to speak with readers, but also we made him like a small conference with policemen from Guadalajara, and they spoke about their experience, and it's been a great experience for the city. It's been Guadalajara is a cultural city by nature, but this title has consolidated many of especially the public policies regarding to books and literature. So we are, as I said to you off air, we are like enjoying the last 2 months and a half of our title. But one of the things we thought when we started this project was not only to make it a 1 year celebration. I mean, this is the base of a public policy for the long term in Guadalajara. So we aspire to, not with the WBC title ahead us, but to try to keep promoting books and literature with this focus specialized on the preventing violence.
Thank you so much, Rodrigo. I'm going to go back to you, Koko, because at this moment, I have to say that I tried to get a hold of our friends in Ghana, but they are very busy organizing their edition of the World Book Capital. And Koko, I'd be interested in, I mean, what do you know what they're going through as organizers? What do they expect for the year that they're going to be running the World Book Capital?
Well, James, I'm sure you rightly know, Anastasia is the best person to answer that. However, I must say I've been in close touch with her. I've been talking to her as senior city World Book Capital, fellow African World Book Capital. I've shared ideas with her, encouraged her in different ways. And I know there's good preparation going on. I know she has the different sectors of the government fully on board. She works with the government herself. So that's a plus. Whereas for Rainbow, you know, we are an independent organization that we're working in collaboration with the government, but she's part of the government. Yes, so I encouraged her from our experience, some of the things I said, to get popular culture involved. Like we got celebrities to read to children. Burna Boy, Nigeria's Grammy Award winner, for instance, who's a Port Harcourt boy, came and read to the children. We had captains of industry, movie stars, and those sort of things bring excitement. Port Harcourt used to have a very popular carnival annually. We had a train in the carnival of people wearing books and music and dancing. So these are the sort of things I told her to do. Take it out of the book industry per se and just open it up, make it what is so important. I said to her, bring strong voices that the young people would listen to. When we were starting our Get Nigeria Reading Again campaign in Port Harcourt in 2005, Chimamanda was emerging. She had just written her first book. We reached out to her. So she came and kicked off that campaign with us. And it's always nice when you have a younger person that can connect with the children or with fellow young people. Another thing is the private sector. I encourage her. It's so important. So for us, as I said, Port Harcourt is an oil city. So we were excited that petroleum giant Shell collaborated with us to build a 350-seater library in commemoration of the World Book Capital, which happened to be Nigeria's centenary year. And then Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas as well, a very huge player on the world stage, also backed us. So the private sector participation is so important. And then the things that make Africa who we are, you know, the culture of storytelling, community. So I said to her, it's nice for us to use books now to draw communities together, use books to reinforce the important aspects of the African culture and showcase our rich history as well, you know, to our children and to the world. The World Book Capital is also an opportunity for us to take our cities out there to the world. So I'm excited you're doing this with Frankfurt. We were in Frankfurt in 2005. In 2014, we were at the London Book Fair in 2014, 2013. We're in Cape Town Book Fair in the same year. So it's just an exciting project, I've told her, and we are here to support them in any way we can. We're excited about Accra. So I'll stop there.
Thank you. I mean, I'll ask Ninia because I'm very interested because you said 2025, the applications are open currently or very soon they'll be open. I mean,
yes,
we've had the experiences, you know, in Guadalajara, in Port Harcourt, in Milan. And what are the experience? First of all, what does an event like this do to a city? And number two, it's not just about what do you call it? It's not just about a day. It's a whole year. So please speak to that. Ninia.
Excuse me. The question is that the question was that the application call is open right now, and what are the criteria?
No, I'm not asking about the criteria. What? We've been hearing about how the different cities across the world, what it has done to their cities. Would you like to, because you have a bit more information, what would a city benefit from investing so much in that?
I will mention once again that with this project, with the UNESCO World Book Capital project, each city will promote its literature, its publishers, its readers. The readers are, I would say, the most important target group to promote them, the young generation to be back to the books in an innovative base, to promote readings. They have lots of tools and lots of attention, worldwide attention, and lots of support as well to promote the reading and literature actually in the young generation. So in my point of view, personally for Tbilisi, I would say this project benefited Tbilisi, the young generation, to start reading the literature, to be interested in the books, and to create something special for them. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Thank you, Ninia. We've been joined by Lawrence Njagi. Hello, Lawrence. And Lawrence, can you hear us?
He's muted.
You're mute.
Sorry. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. So
apologies, we did not have electricity in our part of town. James, I know it just came when I was trying to connect. Sorry.
NEPA took light. Lawrence Njagi is the recent chairman of the Kenyan Publishers Association. He's the current chairperson of the African Publishers Network. And his day job, he runs, he's the managing director of the Mountain Top Publishers. We are talking about the World Book Capital. And, you know, as one of the publishers, as the head of the Publishers Network on the continent right now, well, where do you see, what role do you see the World Book Capital doing for an organization, you know, for the publishing industry?
Yeah, thank you very much. I was still trying to catch up with the conversation, but I think being awarded the World Book Capital is really a statement of confidence in the publishing industry in that particular country. Though we award towns, but I think it's an overall statement that there's a lot of confidence in the publishing industry. So I think it's a good thing, and it's also a testament that we have some serious publishing going on. In Africa, one of the biggest challenges is starting and maintaining a publishing house over a long period of time. We find a lot of companies coming up. Less than 5 years, companies closing, others coming in. So by the time you are getting the World Book Capital, I think there must be some good level of publishing that has happened in that country, so that you can be able to celebrate things like books. So I think it's a strong affirmation that that particular country is headed in the right direction.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. I'm going to try and bring you in when we get some more. You get the vibe. And Anna, you're doing publicity for the World Book Capital in your year. Would you like to share with us some of the techniques and strategies you use to make sure that the word goes out about the events that you're doing over the year?
Yes, it was a demanding job because, as I told you, we had so many events, and so many events were also combined in different arts. So what I did is approach the press of different categories. For example, we had a festival of books in cinema. I was contacting the cinema editors, you understand? I was contacting the theater editors when we had some festival with some theater based in books and everything, or we had street theater, or we had music and book. We had arts. So I had to have the editor that had something to do with arts mostly. The strategy was to have a press conference, of course, at the beginning. Of course, a press conference at the announcement of the city, of the title of the city, and then you have something like 2 years in front of you, 1.5 or so, to get prepared. So the announcement, and then in between some conversations with editors on the progress and the preparations, and then at the opening, it's a great chance for people from Greece and abroad also to bring more visibility. I mean, the press from abroad was also very interested in the World Book Capital, and many magazines and newspapers, and also correspondents of the foreign press in Athens were writing about that. Television was also there in some events, and this brought a lot of publicity as well. Radio. So we had to, as I told you, categorize each event and approach different editors and journalists to write about it.
Yes,
that was the and there are no advertisements. You understand? It's a city hall situation. Everything was more based on pure journalistic work, and of course we had some campaigns within the metro station, in the airport, where we also had joint events. We had books in the sitting areas where people were grabbing books to read in the waiting halls, and many press conferences for different categories of events as well.
Thank you so much. Now, Sheikh, I'm going to ask you, because you lost out a huge. Okay, I'm seeing somebody, Denise, on YouTube saying Guadalajara, capital mundial del libro, ha sido increíble. Rodrigo, what does that mean?
It's been incredible.
Oh, it's been incredible.
Great.
Thank you, Denise.
She's a friend of mine, so don't worry.
Oh, gracias, Denise. No, Sheikh, we've had all the benefits. Everybody's like saying, it helped about violence, it helped, everything. And you missed out on a huge, because of health issues. Do you plan on applying again for the World Book Capital?
I wish
we should be getting a free 1 year. World Book Capital. But when we did what we did, it was something unique for us. The process to hold the World Book Capital itself is rewarding. Like before this, we have never worked with the city hall when it comes to, the book industry has never worked with the city hall at this magnitude. So now we are closer with them. We organize more activities with them, and they are more. Uh, they know more people from the industry that they can work with. So I think that is a huge success for me, and we are continuing where we left off in 2021 by organizing more events, more new events. In fact, this March, 18th and 19th of March, we are organizing the Kuala Lumpur Readers and Writers Festival for the first time as a collaborative effort between the Malaysian Book Publishers Association and also the Kuala Lumpur City Hall. So more activities are planned. We are serious in getting more people to come in and support all our activities. Writers, publishers, readers, poets, and all. And we are hoping to get the corporate people to come and support us along the way.
Lawrence, what about you? Do you see Kenya applying for the World Book Capital 25 or 26?
You're muted.
You're muted again.
Sorry. It's about time because Nairobi and especially the capital Kenya, we have come of age. If you look at in terms of publishing in sub-Saharan Africa, we can say Nairobi takes the lead. You look at our book fair, for example, which has been running for the last 20-something years consistently, apart from the COVID years, of course, the 2 years that we had COVID. Otherwise, we have run the book fair throughout since 1970s. We held, for those who were able to attend, we had a very successful IPA seminar here in Nairobi, where we brought up quite a number of publishers from across the world. And I think it's time. If you look at the number of publishers, for example, in Kenya, and their contribution in the bigger picture in the region, the Greater East African region, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, South Sudan, Malawi, Zambia, Burundi. If you look at that, and the DRC, if you look at that sphere, most of the business there is controlled by the Kenyan publishers, and therefore the book has traveled across those boundaries. And I think it's about time that we actually applied for the World Book Capital. But again, James, I know, and that is something that we need to work hard in Kenya. It cannot succeed without a strong backing from government. Last time we almost applied. I think 2 years back we almost applied, but we simply could not connect the right people in government at that time. If you look at the last 5 years, Kenyan publishers have supplied over 360 million books. Let me repeat that slowly. 360 million books the last less than 5 years directly to schools. I think that's a huge contribution, and especially because they are all local publishers. So I think, yeah, I agree. I think it's about time. We'll need to be, of course, we'll need to look at the gurus who have done it before us. Accra, for example. We'll be talking to my good friend Asare for him to hold our hand and show us how to go about it. But I think I agree. It's about time.
And Koko is right here as well.
Yes, and Koko, yes.
Yeah, Rodrigo, you're basically the people who are holding the World Book Capital this year. You notice we are almost running out of time. I'd like to ask, what would you say has been the biggest contribution of this World Book Capital to your city? Like, because I know you talked about the idea of what you're trying to do, but what was the biggest contribution?
Well, I think the biggest contribution for Guadalajara is to consolidate it as the capital of literacy and books in Mexico, and one of the most important cities in this subject in Latin America. And I also want to say something about what you were saying of the involvement of other institutions. One of the things that worked very well for us here in Guadalajara was to involve uh, private and public institutions that are not especially related to books and literature. For example, we went to pitch the project with the Chamber of Commerce, with the Hotel Association. This is a private sector that controls conventions and hotel occupancy in the city, and they loved the project. They gave us lots of ideas, and they even borrowed some of their spaces in the airport and in the subway and bus stations, and this helped us a lot. I mean, it's absolutely important to involve literature in the sector, but also other sectors that have an important influence in the economy. So, in this case, for us, this was very important because, as you know, we recently created a network for the capital book cities. So Guadalajara was in the middle of the creation of this network, so we didn't have like too many references or like the manuals to implement such a big project like this. In our case, in our specific case, we we started to looking at what Tbilisi was making. They became like our big brother, not in the Orwell perspective, more in a family perspective. They helped us a lot. We were able to see the development of a World Book Capital in process and learn how to make it in more perfectible in Guadalajara. So I think the just to reaffirm it, the biggest impact is Guadalajara is today the most important reference in literature in the industry level and readers in Mexico and probably Latin America.
What we're going to do is we're going to wrap up now because we've already done our 1 hour. So I'm going to go ask everybody that one of, just like I asked Rodrigo, what was the one thing, you can take away from your World Book Capital experience that, that it gave to your city. So I guess we'll start with Sheikh, who, apart from, coming closer to the captains and industry, just give us one of the things shortly, like you'd say, yeah, this is the one thing we got from the World Book Capital.
Yeah, well, one thing that we got is that we get people to sit down together. Never before has happened this way, and many agencies, NGOs, we come together and see what each other can do, so that we can identify what projects that we can collaborate for the people of Kuala Lumpur. So that is one thing that I can see happening now.
Thank you, Sheikh. Ninia?
Personally, for me, I would repeat the words of Sheikh. Personally, for me, these people, the network people and the representatives of different World Book Capital people is very, very important experience for me. But for my city, the World Book Capital was a new challenge that promoted books. I mentioned it once again, and I remember all the interested people, young generation, who were waiting for the new projects on our web pages. I think it was the most important for me personally.
Thank you. Thank you, Ninia. Anna?
Yeah, I would say I would repeat the motto of the World Book Capital Athens, which was books everywhere. So the main thing was to bring books, as I told you, everywhere, in unprivileged also areas everywhere in the city as much as possible, and also make synergies. I mean, bring people and institutions together from different sectors and make them work with each other and gain from each other.
Koko?
Yes, so I've talked a bit about the tangibles, but there are several intangibles which can't be quantified. For instance, the psyche of the city, as I explained the backdrop, a difficult time where insecurity was an issue, but Harcourt had lost its glory, and we came on the scene and changed the narrative. So that's very, very encouraging. But I want to speak into the future, because Africa has a large youth population, and about 40% going forward. And the future is so important to us. So one of the legacy initiatives that has come out of Port Harcourt World Book Capital is something we're working on now, which we call the Rainbow Notable African Series, where we're going to tell the stories of important Africans to young readers, primarily in illustrated biographies. And I'll just end with a proverb that says, until the lion rises up to tell its story, the narrative will glorify the hunter. So we are getting up to tell Africa's stories to the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Koko. That is very profound. Lawrence, I'll ask you to wrap it up for us. You've not hosted a World Book Capital yet, but I'm sure you follow that industry as a publisher. Would you give us, what do you think Accra will benefit the most from from the World Book Capital? Again, you're mute.
Yeah. First of all, we are extremely proud and excited that it is an African city that was conferred the World Book Capital. We couldn't have been more prouder. And as chairman of APNET, I see this as a success story. And we will be coalescing, all of us. We will be going to Accra. We are already pulling our people together, and we are saying, let us meet in Accra, let us celebrate Accra, and let us learn from Accra. How else can we do it and celebrate our stories? I like what Koko has talked about stories, because we have a lot of rich African stories that have not been told. And a lot of African publishing companies, especially, are looking into Europe, are looking into Asia to buy rights. But we hardly sell our rights. Therefore, we hardly tell our stories to the rest of the world. And I think this is a golden opportunity. And I'm quite excited that it's Accra.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. Thank you so much, Rodrigo, Koko, Sheikh, Anna, and Ninia, for joining us on the session. I've really enjoyed and I've learned so much from you. I'm grateful for the 1 hour you've given us. And I'll say, at this moment, I'll say goodbye. And for those of you who watch this session now and in the future, please enjoy yourself.
Thank you,
Thank you,
James.
James.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, James.
Bye.